All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Miami Dolphins. This is a squad, man. They started 8-3 last season. They got a new defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. You pair him up with cats like Jalen Phillips, who had 7 sacks last season. Bradley Chubb, more recent addition for this Dolphins defense, who had 8 sacks. Javon Holland at safety, 96 tackles. Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, new addition. That's 9 straight Pro Bowls if you combine them both. Ramsey's made 6 straight. Howard's made 3 straight. Brandon Jones, if he can just stay healthy, he's a very enticing young prospect. You also made a couple of moves in free agency, or in the offseason rather, outside of Jalen Ramsey on the defensive side. You picked up David Long Jr., Deshaun Elliott at the safety position. And you pair all these cats up with Vic Fangio. Statistics last year don't do the Dolphins any credit. They place them actually just points per game wise at 24th in the league. But once again, when your starting quarterback only plays 13 games and he leads you to an 8-3 record, gets injured, and your backup QBs aren't just able to make things happen the same way as Tua was, it's kind of hard to have good defensive statistics if your defense is just going to be out there all the time. So yesterday, we talked more so about the defense. If you want to go check that out, be my guest. Plenty of Dolphins videos on the way, guys. I love talking about the Miami Dolphins. Mentioned it yesterday. I live only about 2 hours away. I'll actually be in Miami in about a week from now. But nonetheless, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit the like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. We got a bunch of new Dolphins fans. My first ever I've made Dolphins videos. I've made a bunch of Dolphins videos, but like my first Dolphins video did well yesterday. So I appreciate you guys so much. We had over 200 likes. If we could get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the world to me. But just honestly, either way, anticipate plenty of Fins content coming in the off season in general. So let's talk a little bit about this offense. And just from a glimpse, just if we zoom out real quick, I know that Tua's got to stay healthy and the offensive line has to help him stay healthy. But last year, Tua in his 3rd NFL season did phenomenal, guys. 65% completion percentage. Oh my goodness, 35. Could you imagine that? He had 3,500 passing yards, all right, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and this is just in 13 games played. Once again, Miami, after starting 3-0, taking down some awesome divisional rivals, specifically the Buffalo Bills, to go 3-0, this team was honestly ascending at a rapid rate. And obviously, unfortunately, the injury to Tua happened, and also a couple of cats on their defense, and just in general, people were getting injured. If this team is healthy next year, I guarantee this is like such a for a Dolphins fan, this probably sounds like a goofy take, but outside of Dolphins fans, maybe this isn't crazy. 100% in my head, even if they dealt with injuries next year, this team is going to make the playoffs. In fact, they made the playoffs last year after losing, 5 straight, Tua being out for the rest of the season, and they lost to Buffalo. It's a really good football team by 3 points. Tua didn't even play in the game. So Tua had the best year out of his young NFL season, or career rather. 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, good completion percentage. He is certainly on the right track as long as he can stay healthy. And stay tuned, because we will talk about that offensive line more so towards the end of the video. They also have the best, probably the best wide receiver duo in the entire NFL. If you don't think it's the best, it's a top 3 undisputed wide receiver duo in this league. You have Tyreek Hill, who last season had 119 receptions. You heard that correctly. 119 receptions for Mr. Tyreek Hill. He had over 1,700 yards. That is almost 1,500 yards per reception, and that is over 100 total receiving yards per game. Chip in 7 touchdowns. And you pair him up with a very young Jalen Waddle, who had 75 catches, almost 1,400 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And the cool statistic for Jalen Waddle was he had about 18.1 yards per reception for a cat in just his 2nd year in the NFL. That is like more than promising, actually. So next season, they're going to turn heads. They had over 3,000 combined receiving yards just between the two of them. That is an absurd statistic. I know the loss of Mike Gesicki might be it might be circled for some people. I do have them in a mock draft taking a tight end. I definitely think they should take a tight end. I like Durham, but I think it's a deep tight end draft. Just continue to take tight ends because, the thing with Jasicki last season was it's not like he did anything crazy. He had just 32 catches, only 362 yards, did have 5 touchdowns, but if you put in the math, that's just 21.3 receiving yards per game. Went over to New England, but for a cat who had in his past 2 years in 2020, 2021, over 700 receiving yards, this was Mike's worst season in the NFL since his rookie year when he first got to Miami in 2018. So he's just not a part of the future. We saw that relatively quickly, but regardless, if we want to take a quick look at the draft, I'm going not in this specific order. I think Deshaun Elliott definitely helps with that safety depth. I know when Armstead is healthy, they have a really solid, at least, offensive line. But I'm looking at these 3 specific positions in general. I'm looking offensive line, I'm looking tight end, and I'm looking running back. I might actually even go in that order. When we take a look at the running back room, the duo of Mostert and Wilson is actually extremely enticing to me. They made the acquisition for Jeff Wilson halfway through the season. This was the running back duo in San Francisco when Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator. So I think if you have a healthy unit of both of those two cats, and I think if they're able to improve at any rate from last season, so last year they had 99.2 rushing yards per game. That was the 7th worst in the NFL, coming in at 25th. But once again, Jeff Wilson joins him a little bit late. I think Chase Edmonds, there was a lot more thought that he was going to have a bigger role as well. But Raheem Mostert was the dude, 891 yards, unfortunately had an injury at the end of the season, the last actual week of the regular season against the New York Jets, which really sucked. And I know that the Dolphins went down, 14-0 relatively quickly to Buffalo in that playoff game. So you kind of got to scrap out the run, or at least be a little bit more strategic about when you're calling runs. So the running attack wasn't huge against Buffalo, but it's kind of hard to even look at that playoff wildcard game with the Bills and Dolphins at all because Tua didn't play. So it's all right, it's a backup quarterback. How much are we really going to take from this? So that's what I'm looking at for the draft. They only have 4 total draft picks, but to be quite honest with you, with the free agent or just the offseason period they had in 2020, it's 2023 already. So this year was solid, right? Because all those guys I mentioned, but are we calling, it's kind of crazy to think 2 off seasons ago, it's the 2022 off season. Time might be going a little bit too quick for my liking, but that's neither here nor there. The point being, whether or not we're aware of the years here, the last 2 off seasons, including this one, have been rock solid for this Dolphins team. They're extremely young. They're extremely talented on both sides of the ball. And if that offensive line and Tua in general, if they can all just stay healthy and keep each other healthy, with that defense paired up with Vic Fangio, I think he's going to get them all right. We saw all the talent. We saw all the potential last season. I don't really see how Miami won't win 10 games. And I'm not trying to get ahead of myself here because, like I said, we're less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. Injuries happen. Stuff happens across the league. Free agency technically isn't even over. Don't want to get too ahead of myself, but this Miami team is extremely good in my opinion. And I'm a Packers fan, so there's no biases in this video, even though I am more of a recent move down to Southwest Florida. So that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. Seriously, Dolphins fans, a lot of you guys actually reached out to me on social media. I appreciate it so much. And, we'll continue to edit up these clips and keep improving because I haven't made a Dolphins video in quite some time because up until yesterday, no Dolphins video had ever really done well. And I was just thinking, I don't know what's going on here, but it is what it is. That algorithm's tricky. So let's try and get 250 likes on today's video. But more importantly, guys, let me know what you're thinking about this Dolphins offense down below, and I'll catch you guys later.